Welcome back to the reality, guys. I'm your host, Billy Blinks, joined as always by my co-host, Brian,
Kind of, buddy.
Brett,
Brock Cole.
and joined again by friend of the show and host of the Strat Chat podcast, our friend Kyle Petty.
Hello, hello.
As you can see here in the title and thumbnail, we are here to talk The Amazing Race. This is season 35, episode 2, part 2 of Wednesday night CBS realities, 3-hour block. So week 2 of the 90-minute experiment here for The Amazing Race. Also week 2 in Thailand. We did depart Bangkok, though, this episode. Off the bat, guys, I thought that this was a pretty run of the mill Amazing Race episode. Starting the episode still with 12 teams, definitely gave it a feel still almost of a premiere episode without the flights. I did feel like there was a bit of a drawn outness to this 90 minutes compared to last week's 90 minutes. I do think when there are episodes with more U-turns and some more strategy involved and more, frankly, more travel, there wasn't a ton of really risky travel or confusing travel this week, that the 90 minutes will be great. But for this week, I almost wish that they could have done a 60-minute episode. So I'm going to go around the horn, just your guys' overall impressions of this episode, and then we will do what we always do and kind of run down a kind of chronological order episode. Kyle, I'm going to start with you as our guest, and then we'll go Brian, Brett. What were your just overall just like thoughts on the episode?
I do agree with that. I think it would have been a little bit more interesting to really kick things off with maybe like a double or something like that, just to kind of fill in some of this space. I think we benefited last week from the fact that we were also meeting these people, so we got their intros and everything that kind of helped fill out the 90 minutes. But you're right, without the travel and all that stuff, this was a little draggy.
I agree. Like it was like how much we spent like what half the episode with lotus flowers. So I
Right,
mean,
which
it's just
I don't understand why that was so problematic. Like,
yeah,
I understand the leaves were brittle and blah 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 blah, but like it was very very clearly 3-4-3. Like, I don't really understand why we had to have like 15 attempts. Like,
yeah.
it's a little wild.
The judge would just look at us. You'd be like, huh? And they're like, what was that?
Like, look
Like, what
at
did I
it.
do
Like,
wrong?
come on,
Brett, what'd you think?
everything.
Yeah, I mean, I had to watch most of this episode in the car on my phone, so maybe that was partially I was distracted. But I thought this episode was really boring. The lotus flower thing, it seems somewhat interesting when they had to like find them in the mud, but when they kept doing the attempts after attempts, I couldn't tell the difference of what they were doing wrong, other than just like the green arrows and the red X's, and yeah. And then the challenges after that weren't that much fun either. So I don't know.
Did you
It is
have
what it
good
is.
cell service?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure that didn't adjust like your spectrum of like your quality of the episode. I don't think you guys are wrong. I think what I would say as like an overall message, if someone were watching this episode and wanting to kind of just like, what do I learn from someone if I wanted to go on this show, or just kind of just like to have the conversation, is that finesse over speed in the early legs, people. Finesse over speed. Like you said, Brian, we spent a crap ton of time with the Lotus Flowers, and we will get to the challenge and we'll explain the rules in general. But it just seems that people try to rush crap. They just are so worried about like their positioning still early on and just worried about getting in and out. It just sit there, take your time, get the pattern right, wrap it up. Like it just like there's no, like you said, there's no reason to go up 9, 10, 15 times for these tests. I would understand that if this thing came up and you're in leg like 8, right? And there's pressure and you know every second literally does count. When you have 12 teams, every second does not count. But if you start compounding these seconds into frustrating minutes and hours, then hey, it can happen. And we had it happen even with some of the teams that still positioned well. If you were going on a race for overall time, they've lost and burned a ton of time this week doing these very simple challenges. So let's kick it off. And then we can kind of talk point by point to kind of like reinforce our opinions here. We do start in Bangkok, Thailand. They are going to travel to the Nakhon Pathom. The clue is at the Wat Sawamaram. Saramaram. Dun, 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 dun. Like literally, I can't. Come on. This is thank God Logan. Shout out. doesn't take points away from me for butchering my pronunciations. It's one of the 40,000 temples.
Doing
In
the best we
Thailand.
can here. We're doing the best we can.
40,000 temples, though. I mean, that is pretty
Crazy.
impressive. Where does that rank in the world rankings of temples per capita or overall temples? Like, does America have more churches? I mean, there's definitely more
No way.
more than 40,000 churches than temples, right? But like, where are the temple rankings in countries? I want to know that. Logan, let me know. First roadblock, guys, and this is what we're talking about. Who has a green thumb? None of them. You had to get a bouquet of lotus flowers. Well, first you had to pick which one of your two team members went. You had to get in the rowboat, row away. 10 bulbs, lotus. You need to have a 3-4-3 pattern. If I can get a good picture of it, I'll throw it up. You had to make sure the string was wrapped. You had to have the flowers correct, right? What else was important?
Like the leaves, like or not the lily pad looking leaves that were around the sides.
Yep.
Yeah.
This wasn't that hard.
Tissue paper.
Wasn't that hard, right? Like, does anyone think this is like sneaky hard? I really didn't think it was.
I thought it was sneaky hard. Yeah, I mean, the who was it? Ashley. She finally got in her 15th attempt.
Yeah.
And I don't know. A lot of them took a lot of attempts, so there was something tricky about it where they were having a hard time. And from what I saw, I couldn't tell the difference between a good one and a bad one. So it probably was hard.
You're saying, oh, it's like a Russian judge situation here. Like, this lady's like, you know what? No, I don't like your thing. Like, she's just changing it up. She's just being very arbitrary about who passes and who goes.
I think, well, I don't know if there was like an example of what a good one looks like, but if I saw someone else get correct, I would just go grab theirs and see what it looks like.
I think you're right. And I'm curious too. And like, you obviously we don't get a great layout as far as how far certain steps were and things, but even like Greg and John, right? They are sent to the wrong, they literally go to the complete wrong place. The guy says we're far away from there. They go back over it and they don't have the easiest time with it. And they ended up fourth, Bri, I think?
They got third, but they like did that bouquet quickly.
Yeah. So it's like, but still, even then, like, so how long? One thing we've always talked about, look, we know they're not going to give us full behind the scenes, and I know that the stats are out there. You can find out how long filming was for a specific leg, but I'd be really curious, like, and let alone the attempts, but a timer would be hilarious, right? Like, Ashley's been trying to do this bouquet for 3 hours, or were 15 attempts. Should she do that in half an hour? Like, how quickly were the attempts? Like, that type of stuff I'd like to know as well, because it makes me think that if they're throwing out the number of attempts, maybe it's not as long as they want to lead you to believe.
Right, they're like a volume shooter. Yeah, anytime that there's a running clock, I will always accept that. Like, challenge, you need to start doing that again.
Yeah, each team should have a running clock. That'd be cool. So whenever they show,
awesome, honestly,
whenever their team pops up, it shows their clock.
I think then, like, overall, like, time comes into play, or that's like the overall way that you win. That would be interesting in certain respect. A literal race.
Yeah, it puts a lot of things into context. You know, it's like, did this person really, really bungle this thing, or were they just that far behind? You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think and obviously the devil's advocate argument would be, well, maybe you have one monster horrible leg that you struggle on a really finicky challenge, and that means no matter what, you have zero shot now to win the race. So I guess there are arguments for and against it, but like you said, the overall time spent would just be fun as a viewer to know. We say that with the challenge all the time too. Like, we like to always know, like, the score, the time, things like that. So that also applies here to the Amazing Race.
Before we leave this one, the number one thing I wanted to ask was, do you jump in the mud with your shoes on, or do you take them off? Because everyone kept losing their shoes.
I don't know, man. I don't know what's down there.
I guess, right?
I mean, if I knew it was muddy and not rocky, I'd probably take my shoes off. So one, I don't lose them, but also just so that they're not wet when I leave, and I'm running in wet shoes the whole race. Or if you do lose a shoe, like, and it's gone, do they give you new shoes? Like, how does that work?
Are there?
You got to buy them at the market.
Are there prohibited footwear on the Amazing Race? Because you could just rock like a pair of those, like, Vibrams, right? The Vibram shoes that are the Toad water all-terrain shoes, and like, you could just wear them. the entire race. You both look like a goofball, but frankly, they already look like goofballs. They're wearing matching shirts and shit. So like, whatever. Like, you might as well wear like the all-terrain footsie things and make it. Like, I wonder if they're not allowed to do that.
I was really hoping that Jocelyn, when she was stuck in the mud, like actually was legit stuck, and that somebody would need to come out. Like, I wanted like more catfish like around. You know, that would have been like really way cooler if there was like more peril inside of the mud pits.
Like an alligator.
Yeah, an alligator.
You saw how many catfish were on that river. Like, even if they're just always
Swamp
around.
thing.
Like they try to go grab something and one gets caught on their finger and they gotta like slap it away, like things like that. Like, no harm, but it's just like more animal interference.
Phil's doing his casual intro of the roadblock. He's like, the racers will also have to contend with Swamp Thing, a mythological beast who's known to kill on sight.
Gross.
You know, it's like
Yes,
casual.
that's what I want.
That'd be
Presented
awesome.
by Kayak.
Well, they need things that are harder for certain sets of people. Like if you get scared of something, or if you're like not athletic. I know sometimes they used to do it. One of my favorite ones I ever saw was when they had to like climb up some slippery greased pole at an angle, and no one can do it.
I think we'll get there as we have
Yeah.
maybe like less travelers, less like racers as well. Like, I think maybe you whittle it down a little bit too. And I think that probably makes sense for like crazy physical challenges, but they did have some other ones. So like, move on, like you said, from the bouquets. The next route info brought you to the Wat Rai King. You had to go find the correct marked elephant. You had to deposit a coin. You had to do like 3 laps around it. And that was going to give you the information for the detour. And this is kind of what was the major decision, I guess you would say, this week for the racers. You could do either stock up or scoop up. Stock up was getting a shopping list where you were given a list of ingredients that were written out phonetically and not written out, which ended up being smart of the producers, right? Because then you just couldn't go to someone and have them just point you out to everything right away.
Right.
And made it go super quick. I really like that. You had to get the ingredients and you had to deliver them then to the restaurant, or to this guy was like a chef, basically, who was buying these ingredients from you. And then you would get the next clue. That, boys, is where we get our Mario Party reference of the day. The mini game is Order Up, where you have the Toad chefs up in the corner and they give you ingredients that they want you to bring up to make dinner plates, and you have to go and do it. You have to get 3 ingredients to make a plate, and you have to do it like 3 times, and it's a 2v2 game where you and your partner race and try to do it. Good times.
Wow.
And I was struggling on this one. I was upset. I was almost worried we weren't going to get one.
Is that one where there's like it's not like cake bake where you like turn around and you grab the strawberry? It's not similar to that one.
I know
Right?
that
No.
strawberry shortcake one.
No, that one was like where I was going to go in the extreme stretch, where I was like, look, we don't have one, but you do that. This one is on Super Mario Party, which is like the first one on the Switch, where you have, like I said, you're like, there's conveyor belts where it's like circular ones. It's like very similar almost
The
to
Pokemon
like the
Stadium,
Lickitung
Lickitung
game
one?
in
Yeah, Pokemon Stadium.
Pokemon Stadium
Yeah.
in a respect, except you
Okay.
grab the food and then you run it over to a plate. So it'll be a plate and it'll say like, need 2 pieces of lettuce and like this piece of fish to make that.
Need a
plate.
mushroom, need a star
And you
piece.
grab them and you and your partner run and drop them on
Yeah.
the plate, and then that's a completed plate, and you have to do 3 completed plates, basically.
Gotcha. Okay.
So again, I know we've been doing a lot of newer ones the first 2 weeks here, but I have confidence as we go throughout, we'll get a little bit more into some of the classics as well. There was also Scoop Up, guys. We had to get the pomelo, which is the world's largest citrus fruit, and they are big. They're floating out in the swamp. You have to get about 100 of them to fill up 5 baskets. As I always do when we do this, guys, I'll start with you, Kyle. Which one would you have done?
I probably would have done Scoop Up, but I don't know. Watching this challenge, I kind of call shenanigans. Like, I'm not sure about this. Like, they're just going down the way and like they're just floating there. Like, I feel like production definitely put some in there to make sure you finish it in a certain amount of time. I don't know. Like, this felt like there could be some interference.
There's like a producer just throwing them like over.
Yeah, like it's like, okay, you guys have been out here for a little while. Like, let's just keep this thing going. Like, because other people are coming, so you have to get out of here. We can only have so many people in these little waterways anyway, so we have to help you. I don't know, like it.
That's what I was wondering about it was like that was interesting is if multiple teams go there, one, they can't get by each other as easily, but two, what if the
Right.
first three teams take all the pomelos and there's none left?
I would have liked that, Brett. That's what I was hoping. Like they only put, enough in there for 4 teams, and they don't say that, but they tell you though. See, they don't even tell you. See, but do they have to tell you that there's going to be a limited amount, right? Like then, like where does the line drawn as far as the producers? But I was thinking the same thing as you, dude. I'm like, dude, I'm hoping that like one team's going to get there, and there's only like 4 out of 5 baskets left, and that's it. Or they're so spread out that there are enough, but like you have to find every last one, like they're playing Pac-Man or something.
Like it's a maze of waterways or something they have to
Melons,
go through.
amazing melons.
Like the two brothers, they're like, oh, we don't see any, but then they turn one corner and there's
Right.
all the
And then you see a producer like scurry away as he's dumping in the
Or some
buckets
local
of bushels of the.
carrying into the bush. Brett, before we go to Brian, which one would you have done?
Oh, I definitely would have chosen the pomelo one. That one sounds more up my alley of getting out in nature and grabbing things and lifting things and then running around a market trying to speak Thai.
Brian, what do you think?
Be different. I will pick the Thai ordering.
I think I would have done that one too. I think my point is it's not about speed in the early legs. That one may be a little frustrating, but this isn't one of those ones where they're in like one of those like Turkish bazaars that are like a square mile big, right? And they're all over the place. It was still like a flea market at the end of the day. And as we saw when they are doing the quick edits at the end, when they're just trying to show you the other teams kind of flooding in, a lot of them didn't have a ton of trouble like going up to a lady and asking and have someone help them, right? Like it's just you have to be a little patient, right? So as long as your partner can be patient with you, I would probably done that one. But you guys aren't wrong. Grabbing like just collecting melons at the end of the day. I think the hardest part is the boat, frankly, just the bamboo stick and like that, like getting the flow of that. It's probably not very deep water, right? Like so. Interesting.
There's no snacks in on that boat. The market, you can get a little snack, a little piece of duck.
Also you could take an extra set of pork ribs when you get to the detour.
I mean, when looking at challenges like this, I feel like the pomelo one is it's something you just have to do and physically exert yourself and you'll get it done. Whereas the other one, there could be a curveball where like it's not clicking for me, and then I can't ever get the last item, and then I lose. So
right. See, listen, I'm also from New York. I'm not going to assume that anyone is going to be so nice that they're going to help me. So
That's
like,
a good point.
I'd be very nervous that like people will be like, well, yeah, get out of here. Like, sorry, guy. Like
they should do a version of that in New York, and they're like, get the fuck out of here.
Exactly. Like, what are you talking about? Like, stop talking to me. Like, there'd be
no
so
English,
disgusted.
no service.
Right.
You got to order all the things in another language, and that's going to just piss everyone off.
Stop. Forget it. Just forget it. No one's helping you. You're fine. What? Please.
Really, everybody had like the same struggles on both challenges. You would think it was nice to see at the end when there were multiple teams at the pomelo fields. You had like John and Greg, who actually considered turning around due to the amount that they had to find. And then they said, wait, no, we need to keep looking around. And then they ended up being okay. Let's see, Liam and Jeremy were there, Robin and Chelsea, Joel and Garrett. A lot of people were up in the pomelo. I was honestly surprised at the amount that chose that. For whatever reason, I thought most people were going to try to choose to go to the market. Some people get frustrated there as well. And obviously it is kind of time we talk about some of like the poor performers. Like we had mentioned quickly before, Ashley, 15 attempts at the flower bouquet. Robin also with 15 attempts. Melania, 11 attempts as well. So there was a lot of, which makes me think a lot of people were still in the single digits, but really tough there. Funny enough, they showed the number one team, Jocelyn and was it Jocelyn and Victor, right? They showed them struggle a lot of times, and they still ended up in first place. They struggled at every leg, still clear first. How much ahead of everyone are they right now?
Right, and they even like having the preview for next week. They're like struggling. It's like, what does it mean?
Doesn't matter.
Right.
I
You just
think
gotta
Logan
be.
has commented that before, but I know he's watching now. And we have a lot of our fans, frankly, these are probably the most knowledgeable fans of the shows we cover, as far as facts. We really appreciate you guys with that. It's the biggest drop in position that we've seen ever, right, in one leg, because them going from first to 10th next week would be pretty daunting, right? That's a
I feel like
really
it's
big
happened.
drop.
I
That
don't
con
have the facts. I'm pretty sure it's happened.
It definitely has. We
Yeah,
just
well,
don't know the seasons by heart. I know personally I've only seen the ones that me and Brian have reviewed, and then like the first 2 seasons we watched the retro seasons.
yeah, he'll let us know.
Philly John's frustrated. They power through. Everyone with a lot of frustration. But Bry, let's run down the order of finish right up to the final 2 teams. Let's leave it up to the final 2 teams.
All right, first place we have Jocelyn and Victor. Second place, Rob and Corey. Third place, Greg and John. Fourth place, Morgan and Lena. Is that her name, Lena?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lena. Fifth place, Todd and Ashley. Sixth place, Steve and Anna Lee. Seventh place, Joe and Ian. Eighth place, Liam and Jeremy. Ninth place, Joel and Grant. 10th place, Andrea and Melina. Is it Melina or Melina?
I have it as Malena.
Melina.
Malaina.
Yeah, viewers, my handwriting is terrible. And then the final 2, 11th, Robin and Chelsea, and eliminated Elizabeth and Ileana.
Elizabeth and Ileana, mother-daughter duo. They were right there at the fringe last week. Really, a lot of the order not changing up crazy. The standings still there. I'm looking forward, and I'm thinking, guys, next week we'll get like a flight again or a train. It's time for some travel hiccups to start separating the pack again a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
Anything that you guys are looking forward to in particular, any other kind of closing thoughts? Really, like I said, really just a straightforward Amazing Race episode. So, Kyle, anything close it out? Any other thoughts on this week?
No. I'm satisfied.
Brett, how you feel?
I'm just ready for them to do a U-turn on somebody and then do the voting thing and vote a team into the bottom or whatever they're doing.
We're gonna get there, Bry.
Yeah, I mean, preview looks like a flight gets delayed, so that could cause some nice ripple in everything. So I think sky is the limit next week.
My only request is that we still get an elimination next week. I really want to get down to like 10 teams or so, maybe even like 8 to 9 before we do a double leg. Frankly, I want to get us down. I want to get in the groove here. I really want to be able to invest myself in less teams, and I don't want to have double legs when we're still at 11 teams, 10 teams or so. So that's really my only request. I am really looking forward to it. Check out our coverage of Survivor as well. We just did that. This is the episode that released before last night. Really a funny review. Kyle joined us for that. But Kyle, real quick, where can everyone else find you?
You can find us on all the socials at Strat Chat Pod. That's where we are. We're actually not doing the Amazing Race. So thank you so much for having me for that, because I have nobody else to talk about it with. So
well, you're
Thank you.
always welcome any week to come talk Amazing Race, brother. We're here.
Thank
So
you.
you're
Thank
always
you.
welcome. We had a good time having you. Great show. You should check it out. Anything that involves some form of elimination or challenges and stuff, they will be covering it. A lot of great stuff going on right now and a lot of stuff throughout the fall. So you should definitely check them out. And you'll see Kyle and some of the crew here. Definitely a lot more. So until next time, though, for everyone here, thank you. Peace.